And I think it's one thing it's helped me win is obviously my mental health. My stress levels have gone down tremendously. And it's just a way that when I'm just going through something, like it just clears my mind.
Yeah, you know. It's your boy. Yeah. Alright, listen. I started out on the pavement. Bet you thought I would've made it. Wondering why you ain't did it? Cause you only working that day shift. Yeah, success is contagious. We winners on regular basis. A lot of y'all getting mad, huh? Like how we do it from the basement. I ain't been getting no sleep. Lately I'm playing for keeps. Lately I'm out on these streets. Been talking to God.
And welcome back to another episode of the P.O.T.N podcast, a podcast dedicated towards people, motivating all of you listeners to go that one step further in your lives. I'm your host, Takura, and today I'm joined by an amazing guest. We had the honor of studying together at Hertfordshire University. He is an electrical and software engineer. He has a passion for fitness, creating content, and also he has a hobby of flying drones. So I'd like to introduce my friend, and he's also a YouTuber who has a YouTube channel called Tobi TV. I'd like to introduce my very good friend and guest, Tobi. Tobi, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here, Takura, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome, man. And it's been a long time since we spoke, and I'm really glad to have you on and have you on to share your wisdom and teachings with the listeners today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Sure, you want me to introduce myself? At least you've given me a good introduction. I mean, I couldn't have done it any better. So, do I say a little bit of myself?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you could go ahead and you can do that, and also include, like, tell our listeners a bit about where you're from, obviously what you're currently up to, and also your hobbies that you pick up in your free time as well. So.
Okay, so as Takura said, my name is Tobi. I go by Tobi. That is a nickname that I've had since about 10 years. I got that from a previous girlfriend who gave that to me on Valentine's Day 2015, I think, when she said, "You are my Tobi, one in a billion." It was very cringe, but the name was very catchy. But I have nothing against her. We're not together anymore, but I have nothing against her. She's married, and I'm like, all the best in life for you. So that being said, I'm Tobi. As Takura said, I did electrical engineering with him. No, he actually did aerospace engineering, but I did electrical engineering. I worked in Nigeria for about a year as an electrical engineer, but I found out that this is not really what I want to do for the rest of my life. There was one aspect of electrical engineering which I did like, which was the coding aspect. So speaking to my dad and telling my dad I wasn't really happy in my career and I didn't want to do this for the next 10, 20 years. So he told me that the time to act is now. Because I think we graduated, and I graduated from Hertfordshire at 21. So he told me, okay, the best thing to do is, since you love the coding aspect of electrical engineering, why don't you pursue that as a master's? You love it, and at the same time, it's a very good and rewarding career because you earn a lot of money. So I did some research on where I could possibly get a master's. Initially, I wanted to go to Canada, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get the visa. I did get into about 2 schools, but visa-wise, I couldn't get the visa. So I had to look for the next best thing, which is Ireland. So I researched about Ireland. I said, okay, well, there are a lot of tech companies here. There's Amazon, PayPal, MasterCard, General Motors, which I work in, which I'll get to in a moment. And I think there are so many others which I can't really remember right now. But the market for IT, for people who are doing IT, was massive in Ireland. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to struggle to find a job. So I applied to a couple of schools, found the one that really intrigued me, got into the masters, and I got the visa, and I've been in Ireland since 2018. Yeah. So this year is going to make it 5 years. So I've been there, got my master's, thank God. Then I've gotten my job as a software engineer. So I've been doing that for 3 years now, and I have gained a lot of experience, and I think I've really found out much about myself in terms of my productivity, and my organization skills. Because the thing is, to be a software engineer, it's really more than just coding. It's about how you manage your tasks, because you can be given 3 projects and you have to find out how to manage your time, how to manage how you work on all the projects given to you in a day, which is not something which was something that really overwhelmed me in the beginning, but I think I've kind of gotten the hang of it. So as Takura said, that's what I do as a career. So what I do in my spare time, obviously fitness has been a passion of mine since 2016 while I was still in arts. I started my fitness journey when I was 19. I'm 27 now, and I've really gained a lot. Like mentally, it has really helped me. It has really helped me mentally because now I can, what is the word I'm looking for? Now I'm more relaxed. I think like physically, I'm in one of the best shapes of my life, and I think it's really helped me towards my health because another goal I have is to look as young as I possibly can as I'm aging. I want to age gracefully. With the fitness as well, I also do content creating. I've got a YouTube channel which I started in 2021, yes, which is more about dating for men, more specifically for men, as to how to pertain to the dating markets in both the Western and the African cultures. And it also has something to do with self-improvement as well, because as a man you have to keep on self-improving till the day you die. That's my motto. You need to self-improve mentally, physically, spiritually, and physically as well. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I think, let me hand it back to Takura, and if he has any questions for me.
Yes, sir. And thank you for that intro, man. And it's a well detailed and well structured introduction. And obviously, first of all, congratulations on the masters and securing a job, and obviously working for 3 years, which obviously you've gained a lot of experience there. And obviously, for in terms of the, like you said, health is wealth, in terms of the fitness, and it takes a lot and a lot of commitment and a lot of discipline to be that consistent for that period of time. Now I think that's how many years? That's what, 7 8 8 years, 8 years it
Yes.
is. So it takes a lot of commitment, and obviously kudos to you for that. And obviously on the YouTube side, I think the first question I'll follow up with, obviously when you said obviously you do YouTube and you're releasing dainty content specifically for men and also for self-improvement, but what would you say inspired you to start the YouTube channel?
Okay, well, I would say it maybe pertain to incident I had in 2020 during the pandemic. There was a certain girl, I'm not going to say her name and I'm not going to reveal her details, but let's say in a nutshell, this girl was kind of, she ripped me off for a lot of things. She ripped me off for my time, my money, my efforts, and we were kind of seeing each other, and I thought things were going strong, only for me to find out from one of my good friends that she was actually cheating on me. And not only cheating on me, she was cheating on me with a very good friend of mine. And the thing is, my friends had told me, but I don't know, there was just something in me that wanted me to believe that no, she can't do this to me. There's no way. After everything I've done for her, I bought her this on her birthday. I even gave her some money to actually send to her parents in her country. I'm not going to reveal her country, but let's just say her country is like a third world country. And she wasn't working at the time. And she wasn't working. Yeah, she wasn't working. She wasn't doing anything. And I had just gotten my job as a software engineer. I was like, man, let me do the right thing. Only for me to find out. And somebody actually sent me a text message of two of them, of her and this guy I knew. I think it was a WhatsApp text. I don't know how he even got it. That even is even a mystery to me till today. And I even saw her sending nudes to him. So I confronted her, and she said one of the harshest things to me, that, Toby, I know you liked me, but truth be told is I always saw you as a friend. I was like, what? You saw me as a friend after everything? We've been talking for like what, no. Let me say it's from January 2020 and up until like September, October. In my head, I thought we were actually going out. But in her head, she was just kind of using me for my time, money, and effort. So I can basically say I was kind of like a simp. So that really taught me something, man. Like it taught me something. It taught me something about women. I won't come out here and say that all women are terrible. I just had a bad experience with one. So I just had to sit down, and I was like, wow, how could something like this have happened to me? So I had gone on YouTube. I think what I did was I went on YouTube, and I think, what did I search that day? This was around October 2020. So I searched on like why a woman would break your heart. So how do you know when a woman is using you? So I found this space. It's called the red pill space, which kind of teaches men, more specifically men, how to deal with Western women, how to know when a Western woman is messing with you. Not only Western women, African women. And again, as I want to point that out again, I am not saying all women are bad, all women are terrible, but obviously there are terrible men in the world and there are also terrible women in the world. So I kind of created that YouTube channel as a space for men to help us in general, because there are a lot of men who are kind of lost in the dating scene. Like, they don't know how to even attract women, and they don't even know how to even retain women. So I kind of created that channel initially as a reaction channel. Let me invite guests in so they can listen to kind of the red pill content on how to know when a woman is cheating on you, how to know how to be attractive to a woman, how to keep a woman, and how to even find a good woman that can be suitable for a marriage and things of that nature. So that is kind of why I started it. Then I moved on to like doing public interviews for the channel as well. Maybe asking random women on the streets, okay, what do you think makes a man attractive? And also what other thing can I even asking them again, what makes them attractive, what can make you lose interest in a man, and things of that nature. So in a nutshell, the channel is just about men's self-improvement. It's dating content for men, and also a place where I want to even talk about mental health as well. So that's pretty much the channel. All for obvious reasons, I've not been as consistent as I would like to be, but the goal is to be as consistent as I possibly can and put more content in.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And thank you for that answer. And wow. And you've got a foundation to it, and how you came about starting the YouTube channel. Obviously, my commiserations, obviously, like for that experience that you went through. And you're right, it's not everyone that has got a terrible or bad interest or carries themselves in a bad mindset when they go into dating. It's not everyone,
Yes.
but they do exist. And I'm happy that obviously you've bounced back from the experience even stronger.
Yeah.
I would say. So I think on that, thank you for sharing. Where can people find your YouTube channel if they're interested in actually watching your videos and listening to the self-improvement tips that you've shared so far?
Okay, so my YouTube channel is called Tobilion TV, as you said, Tobilion TV. So I am actually going to upload a new video this Sunday, which I'm working on at the moment, and the plan is to at least upload a video every week, at least one every week. It's not easy, and obviously there are things that are gonna come in my way, but that is the goal, to actually upload more content, because obviously I want to entertain people with the public interviews which I've done, but at the same time educate people as well. So that is kind of the goal.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And, like he said, you can find him at Tobillion TV on YouTube if you'd like to watch his content. And I've watched a couple of his videos, which are very eye-opening and insightful for those who are looking to broaden their knowledge, I'd say. But we'll move on to the next question. And this question, obviously, it revolves around passions. And I'm pretty sure your YouTube channel is one of your many passions. But can you tell our listeners, about your passions and what you love most about those passions, and what got you into those, as I'd say?
Okay, so I think in a question like this, I think the thing I would like to talk about is my fitness passion. So I started going to the gym consistently around 2016. I think, and one of the reasons why is because I think growing up, I was very, very skinny. I think for most of my life, I was skinny. I think when I started going to the gym, I was about 60 kilos. Now I'm nearly 80 kilos. So that's like 20 kilos I've gained in the last 8 years or so. But the main reason I wanted to start going to the gym was every time I looked in the mirror, like I think there was just a random day while I was still in university. I think this was second year while we were still in Hearts, and I just came out of the mirror and I just looked at myself. I'm like, man, I just don't like what I see in the mirror. And I always saw a couple of my mates saying, "Oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm doing this exercise, that exercise," and and I didn't even know what they were talking about. So I just sat and thought to myself, okay, this was 2015 going into 2016. The New Year's resolution for 2016 is I'm going to be consistent in the gym, because previously I was going, but the thing is, I was just going maybe once a month and twice a month. I'm like, obviously you can't make any progress doing anything only twice a month. So I told myself, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to save up money, because at the time I was working for Sports Direct. So I told myself I'm going to save up enough money to start going to the gym. I'm going to register for an entire year. So that's what I did. So lo and behold, I saved all my Christmas money. Then I used it to register for the gym for a year. Then it's been consistency for the last 8 years. I've gained so much muscle that I can't even believe. Looking back at how I started to where I am now, like it's even unbelievable. And I think it's one thing it's helped me win is obviously my mental health. My stress levels have gone down tremendously, and it's just a way that when I'm just going through something, like it just clears my mind. So it just kind of recuperates me from stressful from stress, because how I do it is literally when I'm done from work, I literally just put on my gym gear and I just go in. And I do have ambitions of on actually becoming a PT, because nothing will bring me more joy is than to share my passion of fitness with other people who are kind of going through the same thing as I am going through.
Absolutely,
So
bro. And oh, sorry, you had something else to add?
no, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So I just wanted to say, man, hey, that's an epic story, epic background story on your fitness journey and how it all started. You wanted to make yourself better, and you at first you went along with your friends who were obviously they were into gym and they were committed and you weren't 100% sure on how to start, but you put yourself in that space where you decided to learn more about it, educate yourself, learn about obviously nutrition and foods and the right exercises and the amount of times to go to the gym. And obviously, I think from what you said about how health and fitness can improve your mental well-being, that's 100% true. And like you said, it's helped you manage stress and also improve your mental health significantly, because whenever you go to the gym, you feel a lot better about yourself, a lot better about your outlook on life and all those things. And obviously, on the last point, to become a PT, man, obviously that's a massive step. And obviously, I would encourage you to obviously go and share your passion with those who want to build their fitness up or get onto the fitness journey. And also, you might inspire them to also become a person of reference in their circle for fitness and advice and all that stuff. So
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And another thing I really want to accomplish is that people, like in my pursuit of becoming a PT, is like the fitness industry is really, it's a really taboo place, because most PTs, they just want to rid you of your money. But one thing I want to do is, not only do I want to, obviously there's some financial gain you want from becoming a PT, but you also want to be a PT that would be knowledgeable towards your clients, because you don't want them coming back to you over and over and over again. You want them to have their time with you. Obviously, you want them to have a good time, but obviously, you want them to be knowledgeable to the point that you don't need a PT anymore, because you can't be wasting your money every single time on a PT consistently. Because what most PTs I've noticed do is they'll just put you on this diet. Let's say someone like you want to lose weight. I will put you on a very, very low calorie diet and make you do hours and hours and hours of cardio, which is not going to be sustainable on the long run. Yes, you are going to lose weight, absolutely, but it's not sustainable on the long run, because when you go back to your normal eating, you're just going to put on the weight back. You're going to put the weight back on, and you're going to come back to me, and I'm going to take your money. You put on the weight back, you come back to me, I take your money, and the circle just goes on and on. So what I want to be is a PT that will tell you how to eat, how to know the number of calories you want to eat, if you want to lose weight, if you want to gain weight, or if you want to maintain. That way, I will tell you how much you need to eat. I will recommend the foods you can eat. And the good thing about fitness is people have this misconception that you can't eat junk food when you want to lose weight. But in actuality, you can eat junk food when you want to lose weight. For anyone who is listening to me, yes, I said it. You can actually eat junk food, but and at the same time lose weight. You just have to make sure that whatever you are eating is within the calories you need to lose weight. And this is something that most PTs aren't going to tell you, because, as I said, they just want your money. But this is knowledge I want to share to my clients when I hopefully become a PT.
yeah, absolutely, man, and yeah, and you're absolutely right there about like when it comes to dieting and all that. I think a super restrictive diet may help you lose weight in the beginning, but when you start relaxing a little bit and start incorporating what you had before, you're just gonna go back to your usual weight, usual habits, and then it's going to be a repeating cycle.
Exactly.
And
And you just create, and another thing I've just found out, like, you will just have a bad relationship with food. And the thing is, who wants to have that?
exactly, because food is actually the biggest thing. I think I read in an article somewhere that food actually helps with weight loss, and then obviously exercise is there to help improve your overall body strength and obviously immunity.
That is it. Like building, like when it comes to like going to the gym is for building the muscle. But if you want to lose the weight, that's where the food comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're right. Yeah, you're spot on there, man. And, I think obviously building on from what you just said about how your passion is fitness and all, I wanted to find out who your inspirations are, who've inspired you to be the fired up Toby that you are today. And, I'd like you to share with the listeners, who would you say like are your inspirations and how have they made a positive impact on you so far?
Okay, well, I would say like when I started diving into the fitness industry, there were a lot of people who kind of like inspired me with their story. Obviously, I think everyone knows Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's one of the most famous, if not the famous bodybuilder of all time. He started it at, I think he started his fitness journey around 16, 17, thereabout. Then he went on to win multiple fitness competitions. I've never competed before. Who knows? Maybe one of these days, but it's not really on my agenda at the moment. But he was one of the key guys. Then later on, it was, I don't know if you know this guy. He's called Simeon Panda. There is How to Beat David De Las Morenas. There is also, John Cena. Well, John Cena is a wrestler, but he's not really a fitness guy. Well, actually, he is a fitness guy because I mean, look at the guy. He is massive. But later on, I did find out that a lot of these guys who are looking up to, their physiques are not attainable for a natural bodybuilder because most of them use steroids. But I'm like, oh, well, they have inspired me, although there is a bit of like false hope that they give to you because they give you this false hope that you can achieve this physique naturally. But at the same time, that is not possible because nobody can build that much muscle because everyone has a limit. Everyone has a limit as to how much they can build. But at the same time, I do enjoy their content. I love their background stories on how they achieve their physiques. But at the end of the day, we're not all perfect. So I love the inspiration stories of how they got to where they are, but at the same time, I don't like how you would sell false hope to people thinking that you can build this amount of muscle when in actuality you can only achieve that using performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And I just wanted to say, like, obviously, shout out to obviously your fitness inspirations on that note. And you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right on the point that I think for people to be told that they can achieve a certain level of muscle growth or physique without using performance enhancing substances, I don't think it's an accurate way of trying to get people into fitness. I think people should know like how they would want to look. If they want to look like that, obviously they can go and do their own thing, but I think the ultimate goal is obviously to become lean,
Yes.
to be happy working out, to obviously to feel, I would say, relatively to feel challenged, but at the same time put in a productive amount of work and not exercise to the point of injury, but exercise to the point of yes, I've exercised today, it's been a good day, I can now go home, I can relax and all that.
Exactly. And the thing is, not everybody needs to go to the gym, but at least at bare minimum, you should at least be healthy. You don't need to go to the gym. You can at least maybe even doing walking. Funny enough, walking is a very, very underrated exercise. Just walking like 10,000, 12,000 steps. One thing I noticed is while we were still in uni and I checked my phone, like my health app on, and I just said, let me check how much I used to walk back in 2013, 2014, 2015 while we were seeing Hertfordshire. I think I used to walk like 15,000 steps. I was like, wow, that makes sense as to why I always stayed so lean despite me not really eating as well as I want. So you can stay relatively lean and relatively fit without even going to the gym. That's it. That's the thing. Even if you're maybe a working professional like myself, what I do is in the morning, because I'm hybrid. I'm a hybrid. Twice a week I go into the office, and 3 times a week I work from home. What I do is I wake up, I think around 6:30 because I start work at 9, and I walk for like 45 minutes to an hour. So a 45 minutes to an hour walk is about, I would say, 5,000, 6,000 steps. And so that's me ready for the day. So when I'm done from work, I literally just go into the office. I go into the gym, which is like sometimes I choose to walk and sometimes I choose to drive. But overall, most days I get like 10,000, 11,000 steps, which will even keep the average person lean and not fat. So I think most people's overall goal is to just be healthy. You don't need to go into the gym and build muscle, but just relatively staying at a healthy weight, whether it be by walking, whether it be by jogging, the choice is yours.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And I wanted to tell you a story on fitness as well for the Prince of the North podcast listeners who are listening in. When I left the UK, I think back in 2021, I was actually 98 kilograms when I left.
Wow.
That was a lot, right? And I think at that time I was doing, I'd only started like morning jogs, I think a month and a half before. So I'd go out for a jog when I wake up. I'd jog, I think, about close to 2 miles. And, I'd jog up a massive, really steep gradient in the Kent area. And then obviously come back, drink protein shake, and then obviously eat a vegetable. I won't say a vegetable, like, but like a clean meal. So it's got protein, it's got carbohydrates, it's got
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much everything, right? So I continued that whilst I was now back in Zim, and I think I jumped on the scale. I think it was last year. It's only been like last year in December, and I weighed myself, and I was now about 78 kilograms. So
Wow.
I'd lost that's 20
Yeah,
kilograms I'd lost.
approximately 20 kilograms.
Yeah, so that's pretty much just only from diet and morning runs. And I think maybe now I do walking a lot more because I had an incident which I shared on the previous episode of the Prince of the North P.O.T.N podcast. I used to do morning runs in the area where me and my mum live now, and I was almost bitten by a stray dog. So
Ooh.
you know how it is in there's certain, especially in developing countries, you're more likely to come across stray dogs than you would be in let's say in developed countries or western countries, the islands, the UKs, the Netherlands of the world. I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible to see one, but I'm saying like you're more likely to see stray dogs on our side of the planet than you would
Yeah.
be in those areas. So I remember I was just going on a run, and obviously the dog was barking against. It was barking at other dogs that were behind a gate at another house. So I wanted to go around it. So it was busy barking with other dogs, and then it suddenly stopped, and then it saw me, and obviously I wasn't intending to make eye contact or do anything like that, and then it let me pass, and then it turned around and it tried to bark before it bit me. But then obviously I stood my ground, and I rushed to pick up a stone, wanting to throw it at it. But obviously it ran away by itself, and obviously I continued on with my run. But I think ever since that point, you know how it is if you're a cautious person who can go through events like that. The one instance you could say, okay, if this happens to me once, I could say maybe it was a fluke. The second time it happens, then you say, okay, now I should probably stop doing this. Because the third time, I won't be so lucky. Third time round, I'll probably get bitten, and God knows what else could happen. So I think I'm now more cautious of doing runs now. I'm more of a fan of walking, not in the morning, like I think during the day. I walk before. I actually walk to my German lessons, which is about like a kilometer. So I park my car about a kilometer away, and then I walk a kilometer to the school, and then I walk a kilometer back every
Hmm.
every
Yeah.
Monday to Thursday. Which
You can
which
never, yeah, you can never go wrong with walking. That's what I've realized. You can never go wrong with it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. And so to move on from that question, and to move on to the next one, but can you tell our listeners, of an experience you've gone through that has shown you that positivity still exists in the world and in people?
Well, I know
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, I think when I was still in secondary school, I was picked on a lot because I was one of the smallest people in my class. I think I was like 5'1" or 5'2". I think it was only when I turned 15 or so that I got a really huge growth spurt. So right now I'm about 5'9", so I'm just average height, but back in secondary school I was properly small. So you can imagine then how the experience of somebody who is really really small would go through. I was picked on, always bullied, made fun of because of my size. Because I was, as again I said, I was literally one of the smallest people, and I went through things that I don't even think I want to say on the podcast because there are things that I don't think anybody would even want to hear. But now looking back, that has actually made me stronger, and also those people who picked on me, sometimes they are the ones they even come back to me and tell me that and they tell me that, man, I'm really sorry for what we did. So I always say that maybe sometimes you shouldn't hate on people even though they do bad things for you. Obviously, I think it's human nature. If you have a bad experience with somebody and they do something unthinkable to you, you would want to distance yourself from them. And obviously, you should have respect for yourself if anybody does anything wrong to you. But I would say be open to forgive people,
Hmm.
because some of those people who have picked on me because they've seen the kind of level of success I've gained from obviously getting my bachelor's, getting my master's, and buying a brand new car. They've come back to me and they've actually congratulated me. These are people that I really did hate them. I really hated them, but how they are treating me now, I don't know whether it's because they see I've grown up and I've leveled up my life, which is something I know I've worked very, very hard to do. I don't know whether that contributes to why they treat me better now, but I will always say be open to forgive people.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I think for a lot of people who listen to the show on all digital platforms, that in high school, I think high school was a very, very difficult time for many people for a multitude of reasons, not only what we experienced, but I'm pretty sure people who went through far worse and managed to get through to the other side. And we're always grateful for that. But like one thing I wanted to touch on is what you mentioned was, if somebody does you wrong, think the first thing, like you said, obviously forgive that person. And second, and most importantly, you must obviously respect yourself in the sense that, you're not actively looking to get retribution with that person, or are you're going to try and take that energy and then pass it on to somebody who has done absolutely nothing to you. Obviously, you're doing the mature thing, and you're saying, actually, that negative energy will stop here, and the next person I meet, I won't emit that kind of energy towards them. And those people who, we make friends with, and then obviously we don't ultimately continue being friends with, I think it's obviously important to remain this a certain element of professionalism, a certain amount of respect, and even if you don't respect them, like, I think it's important to obviously act courteously, always act courteously, be respectful, because it's something that I also learned when I was reading one of these philosophy books, that we control how we react and how we
Yeah.
move on and how we carry ourselves. I think it's important for that. So I want to thank you again for that answer. And I think the next question, you've kind of touched on it a bit, because you've also obviously mentioned that fitness has been a key part to helping you overcome stress, help you problem solve and come up with solutions to challenges. But is there anything else on top of fitness that helps you overcome challenges and manage stress better?
Overcoming challenges. Well, I think this is kind of like a mental thing that helps me overcome a challenge.
Hmm.
So let's say there's something I want to do. Let's say more specifically the YouTube thing. I can't tell you how much criticism and hate I got from wanting to start a YouTube channel, more specifically wanting to start a YouTube channel pertaining to like fitness, women, and how to overcome the dating market for men. So one thing I think someone told me is that no matter what you want to do in life, whether it's even this podcast you're doing right now, I'm sure maybe when you started, there were some critics that were telling you not to start it. I'm sure.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So what I always tell myself is people are going to judge you whether you do something that they like or you do something you want. As long as what you're doing is not harming anybody, go
Hmm.
ahead and do it, because one thing in life is you don't want to live with regrets. You don't want to look back maybe when you're like maybe 60, 70, or 80, and you're like, wow, I wish I had done that back in the day. Because the thing about regrets is they are just going to play with your mind, and they're going to consume you. So it's
Hmm.
best you get it done when you can, because that's one thing I've really told myself. I don't want to live with regrets later on in life. So that mindset of not wanting to live regrets and not listening to what people are telling me or criticizing me on what I want to achieve, is that's kind of a mindset that's actually driven me to start my YouTube channel and hopefully make it as big as possible, because I'm aiming as big as I possibly can. Obviously, the work has to be put in, but that is kind of the mindset that helps me, that always keeps me going.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that answer. I think you're absolutely right. I think a certain amount of, well, a lot of mental strength is required when we need to, overcome challenges and deal with stresses, and obviously not park them on the side and just leave them there to build up or add on to our workload that could lead to potentially burnout or anything like that. I think addressing, like you said, addressing the situation head on, maintaining that mental strength, and obviously going through with whatever we want to do, whatever it is, in terms of whether it's starting a YouTube channel, going to the gym, or wanting to start a business or anything along those lines. Obviously you're always going to get people who are going to give their opinions and give their 2 cents and give their critiques. But I think if you know what you want to do with that thing that you've started, I don't think any criticism can actually put you off from pushing through with it, doing it, achieving some success, helping it grow, and sustaining it. So I think that's a key part. And I also want to get your opinion on the next question, which is, we've all gone through trials and tribulations, and we've all experienced failure. But from your perspective, Toby, what would you say is the most valuable thing about failure?
Without a doubt, is the experience, because you're wiser once you've done something and for whatever the reason is you failed. You've gotten the experience and you're wiser to go back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt, that's my mentality towards failure. Obviously, if you fail something, it's human nature to be sad and feel terrible. But the way you can look at it on the bright side is that you've gained the experience needed. At least when you go, if you're going to face that challenge again, you know what you're getting yourself into. So that's how I feel. At least that's how I personally take failure, because I believe last year I was doing my driving test over here in Ireland, and trust me, it is really, really difficult. The slightest thing can just mess you up.
Mm-hmm.
It can mess you up. And so I think whilst I was doing my driving test, this was around August of last year, I was confident. I got all the knowledge I needed, and I felt like going into the driving test, I was well and truly ready. And I knew, and something was just telling me I was going to pass. And I think I drove pretty well, but only for my instructor to tell me, yeah, I didn't pass. I'm like, how? I didn't crash anybody. I just made some minor mistakes. Which on paper, where he was actually fair in retrospect, because when I looked back at how I performed, I was like, oh, okay. So I did feel terrible, because they are very, very expensive. It's about €90 just to take a driving test, and I'm gonna have to wait about 5 more months to do it again. Which I'm like, I can't be asked to go through this again. But what I just told myself was, I've got the experience. I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm getting myself into in the next test. So I just went at it again, and I passed the second time. So it's all about perseverance and just making sure you learn from your previous failure. That's just pretty much how I take it.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And you highlighted the spot on about the experience of going through a failure and the emotions it can make us feel. I think in the beginning, you feel disappointed, you can feel gut wrenched, you can feel sad, angry, confused, all of those things. But the most important thing that we pick up from failure is that learning aspect. And you know that, okay, in retrospect, when I now look back, I see, okay, these were my mistakes, and I now know how to avoid them, not make the same mistakes, and how to make sure I pass the next time. And obviously, congratulations on passing. It's never easy to pass the driving test. It's one of those obstacles, and I think many people would agree who listen to the show that when you're going to get something that is of importance to you, whether it's a language certificate, driver's license, certification to be a programmer, or software engineer, or anything of those things, there will be nerves. And if you fail the first time, even if you feel confident, be disappointed, you may be dismayed. Some people may give up, but the most important thing is you shouldn't give up, first of all. And obviously look at what you didn't do well, and after that you can then say to yourself, okay, what can I do to be better, so that next time when you do succeed, you can. I think there's that thing of that feeling. I wouldn't know how to describe it, but how if you failed the first time, and then when you go back and do it, you're a lot more determined to succeed now. And when you do succeed, you're like a massive weight is off your shoulders, and you can now look forward to the next thing.
Exactly, man. Like, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. There's just that relief that it's done and it's out of the way, and there's also that pride that you finally gotten it done after like failing the first time. Then you go strong again and getting it done. There's just emotional pride that you get that finally it's done and I can go forward with my next goal. So you kind of, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, as I said.
Yeah, that's all good, man. It's a team effort on the Prince of the North P.O.T.N podcast, bro. And I think it leans in perfectly to the next question, and to get your perspective on what you're looking forward to going forward is, and for that, what would you say like excites you a lot about the future going forward?
Well, what excites me one is my plans,
Hmm.
because I do hope that my goals, I don't like to reveal, but I'll just maybe give you like a sneak peek. Like, my goal is to have my own business. So knowing that I'm planning to start my own business, and knowing that my YouTube channel is coming along as strong as I possibly can, I know without a doubt that the future is bright. Without a doubt. The thing is, but obviously the future can't be bright if you don't have any plans, because as they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you can't just go with the flow. And the good thing is, at least we have youth on our side. I mean, we're in our late 20s, so time is really, really on our side in terms of where and the way the world is going with technology. Somebody even told me that, I think I was having a talk with somebody who knows, like maybe by the time we're 50, or no, by the time we're like 60 or 70, the way technology is, we might have artificial hearts, so we could even live to be maybe 100 or 120. So it really excites me with the phenomenons that the world is producing on how the future is going to be.
Absolutely, bro. And I agree. I think first of all, I want to wish you all the best and success in your future projects. We hope to see you prosper and shine on behalf of myself and everyone who's listening to the show right now. And obviously on the aspect of technology and all the developments that are happening, like every single day, there's a slight improvement. Like obviously recently we've had Web3, and we've got Chat GBT and all these other
Exactly.
AI chat platforms, and it's revolutionizing how we can do work. And I think obviously Microsoft started their own version of it, and Google will be starting theirs, and Apple wants to get involved in Amazon. And I think obviously you as a tech person can tell me that it's absolutely bonkers out there.
Oh, you have no idea. Like, once when I heard about this new artificial kind of heart thing, and like it kind of blew my mind away.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it kind of references in. I think I had this discussion with a colleague that we both know, with a friend actually, Jordan, who is also he also features on the podcast. His episode is called Iron Man Jordan. If you're listening to this podcast and if you haven't heard this episode before, I'd encourage you to go and listen to it. But he spoke on, obviously there's the positive aspects, and obviously there's the aspect of ethics when it now comes to introducing technology or artificial organs, or anything of that nature. Obviously integrating that with the human body and how it's all going to work. And I think there's that aspect that obviously still needs to be worked out, but I think it's something we can look forward to going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So the next question, man, and I think this will really get you pumped up in a way. But I want to find out, and I'm pretty sure the listeners are also curious about finding out what helps you stay focused and productive when you're doing activities.
Well, one, I think it's kind of one of two things. One, like the reward, like knowing what you could possibly achieve
Hmm.
if you stay focused on completing an activity. But obviously, the way humans are, and I like to point this out, everything is just based on how we humans function as with our brains. Is based on what you could possibly achieve when you have an activity. Obviously, maybe if you're in college and you're trying to get your degree, obviously you would be focused on, you want to get it done because there is a reward. There's a reward which could possibly come afterwards if you achieve it. So I think one thing that just makes me stay focused on achieving anything worthwhile is motivation. If I'm motivated to achieve something, just the motivation and the reward of wanting to on getting something is kind of what makes me stay focused. If it's something that kind of is, maybe it's something I just want, for just for the sake of having it, maybe I wouldn't be as focused as I want to. But obviously, if it's something that I know would help me towards my future and towards my goals, then obviously the motivation is gonna be what help me. But motivation is not all. It's not the only thing. Obviously, discipline. Like in anything you want to achieve, like there has to be a plan of attack. I think this is kind of what I've kind of realize that in anything you want to achieve, no matter how big or how small, there has to be a plan of action. Maybe you want, in order to do this, you have to know this, and that, and that. So it's just your motivation and discipline, and just having a plan of action is kind of what helps me achieve a goal.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And those are three solid points on that. Like the reward aspect, I think I'm pretty sure everyone is here. When there's a reward involved, people have that extra incentive to make sure that they complete something. And with that comes with the motivation, with wanting to do it. And then you mentioned, I think the core foundation of how everything does get done is that discipline. Is that the knowing the importance of doing what you're doing and how much value it's going to add to the future, and even on a day you don't feel like doing it, because I'm pretty sure you've had days when you don't want to go to the gym, days where I'm not even feeling like revising the German language, but there are, on those days are the days we actually learn the most, because we decide to do it because we know that it's important to us, and we know how much value it's going to add to our lives in the long run. So thank you for sharing that answer. And as we move on to the next question, I want to find out from you how you would view yourself, and I want you to tell me and the listeners what your strongest qualities are, and from those qualities, what quality would you like to pass on to the next person who's willing to like learn from you?
Okay, one thing I would say, if I'm to teach anybody, which I know I'm really good in, is would I say it's my leadership skills or my ability to connect with people? Because one thing I've grown to realize is your network is your net worth. So that ability to communicate with people, obviously, I've come to the realization that my goals, they are so big that I can't achieve it on my own.
Hmm.
And the thing is, anybody who wants to achieve greatness can't achieve it on their own. They always need people to help you in some way, shape, or form, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and there might be somebody who you could benefit from in any way, shape, or form, and they could contribute towards achieving your goal. So I think it's my ability to network with people.
Hmm.
I know for sure, while I was in Hertfordshire, I had a lot of connections which kind of helped me towards my degree. Like I knew people who were seniors, I knew people who were working in electrical engineering companies who had kind of helped me with my projects. I know without them, my project wouldn't have even gone half done. So I think my ability to network with people and also getting good information from people is kind of one is my strongest ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And they say your network is net worth, and your ability to connect with people is the most, one of the more valuable skills there is out there, because like you said, when you maintain a good relationship with somebody, they may not, you might know each other for the duration of university, but you might reconnect later on, and that person might need your help, or you might need their help, vice versa.
I
And
mean,
obviously,
here we are. How many years later, we know each other in Hertfordshire. Look where we are now.
absolutely, man. And I think the key we did was, we checked up on each other, frequently, not like every single week, but like periodically throughout every year, checking in on how we're doing and how what we're working on. If we need any support, any advice, all of those things helped. And I think in many ways, like some of the people who've been podcast guests, or even some people who are helping me now in terms of the next steps of my career, in terms of searching for the next job, or where I want to work and all that stuff. I think that's stemmed from, like you mentioned, being having the ability to network with people, and maintaining that relationship, showing respect. If you can help out, help that person out. You never know how that person's receiving that sort of help from you, and what doors it could potentially open for you in future. So I would encourage everyone listening in to obviously look after your network, friends, family, people you meet at university, at work, at school, whoever. Always treat them with respect, be courteous, even if they're not the nicest people. I think it's important, just to try and zone out, or like block out all the negative noise or anything like that, and ensure that obviously you're respectful, you carry yourself in the most dignified and respectful way possible. But thank you for sharing that answer. I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to pick up that skill from you, Toby. And you know, are there any skills like going forward that you're looking to pick up to add to your skill set?
Oh, well, just like you, the business I want to do is kind of like a worldwide thing. So it would benefit me to know another European language. This is something I've been telling myself I want to do every single year, but obviously things get in the way, and and I know it's easier said than done to want to learn another language, because I know you've been trying to learn German for the better part of a year, and I know my friend who is in Germany, he said he had to literally be in school for 6 months just to get even a decent shred of, just to even understand even a shred of German, a German sentence. So that is something I am hoping to add to my skill set. Just knowing, maybe just, even if it's just one or two European languages. I was thinking more along the lines of English, French, and Spanish, because those are two. I mean, besides English, those are the two worldwide languages, because Spanish is spoken in virtually everywhere in South America, and French is spoken in not only France but also several African countries and several Caribbean territories as well. So I think knowing another European language will really benefit my skill set.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And the language journey, as I can tell you, you know, see, you have your ebbs and your flows, your ups and your downs with the language, but I think the key thing is consistency. And also, like, I think, given that you now have a target, you know, see, dedicating time to work on that, whether it's an hour or whether it's 30 minutes I would say every day. Ideally, you want to learn it consistently every day to make progress. So I'd say maybe 30 minutes a day. I mean, there's so many great apps out there now, you know, the likes of Babel. I used Busu, so that's BUS double two U's at the end. And you know, there's so many. I think the best way obviously is like you maybe work on an app first, and then you try and find 30 minute slots to speak with a native speaker as a tutor. So like on platforms like italki and all these other ones where you know you actually speak to somebody who's a native speaker and they correct you in terms of how you pronounce the words, how you form sentences. And yeah, French and Spanish, like you said, spoken pretty much almost everywhere. Africa, South America, Caribbean, you know, and even Canada, part
Yeah,
Montreal,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quebec, sorry, Quebeco in Canada. So you know that whole aspect of learning a language. I actually encourage everyone to pick up a second language or a third language. I think with Spanish and French, I'm also in that line. I want to learn those languages, preferably after I've mastered German. But I think you know if you can manage to get the greetings down, like initially, you know, the hola, cómo estás, and the
Yes.
bonjour, je m'appelle, you know, all that stuff. You get that locked down. I think you know you can only always build up from there. And you know, also I wish you all the best. And if you want any tips and all that from me in terms of language learning, I'm happy to share with you on that.
Even speaking on that, so you've been on this path to learn. Yeah, how long has it been? A year?
Actually, I started the language learning for German. I think it was May 2021 is when I started.
Okay, so you've been on this thing for well over nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
So what would your fluency level be as of today? What would you say it is?
Fluency wise, just speaking. If it
Yes.
if it's speaking, I'll probably say it's at an A2 level, which is like it's still beginner, but it's not like beginning. The A1 is where you start in a language. So obviously, you know, there's A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and so on and so forth in terms of language levels. So I would say at the later stages of the beginner stage in terms of speaking, I think reading, I'll probably say I'm at the intermediate stage. I can read and understand most sentences. The more advanced stuff, like from B2 onwards, I'll probably say it confuses me a bit. Like I'll use
Oh.
German for instance. I think Futur zwei, which is future two. They call it future zwei, but it's basically the concept of talking about the future or things that can happen in the future or things that have happened that could have been like different in from how they were. So talking about the future and you know talking about natural disasters and all those things like political topics, all that stuff. I wouldn't say I'm at a point where I understand what is happening fully. I would probably say I know some of the vocabulary, but in terms of the grammar, I'm getting there in terms of how to understand it. And I think the fact that I've decided to now enroll in a school on top of the self education I've done, I think it's going to further cement that understanding and knowledge. So, I think for now, speaking wise, A2 level, and then reading B1, and then listening. I think listening as well, because listening it's at A2. I won't big myself up too much. I think I have to be honest and critical about myself, not in a negative way, but being like honest.
Yeah, just
Probably
being realistic with where you are.
yeah, so listening and speaking, I'll probably say A2 level, and then obviously reading. I like to read a lot, and you really, even for you, language learning. There's a guy called Ollie Richards, who's a polyglot, one of the many polyglots in the world. Shout out to Ollie Richards. He's got books where he says, the best way to learn a language is obviously not from, yes, you have to do grammar books and know how to structure sentences and all that, but how you learn the language is like reading stories and listening to stories. So there's options on YouTube now. People have got animated stories where they talk about different things, different topics. Going to the supermarket, for instance, ordering something online, ordering a taxi or going to the airport, all those sort of things. There'll be
Okay.
dialogues, there'll be stories. So it helps you understand how native speakers actually speak the language. And at the same time, you're learning how, what's actually going on in the story itself when you read it. Because I think, I'll be honest, like, when I first started, I started when I was learning German. I tried to watch a TV show called Dark, which is on Netflix, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But now I've been exposed to German a lot more, and obviously I'm going on a tangent now. But since I've been exposed to German a lot more, I've actually worked in the language. I've practiced speaking, I've practiced listening. I've done all these things. I'm fairly capable of following the story in German with German subtitles. With German subtitles, it helps because some of the words you can't really hear how other people pronounce because people pronounce words differently. But I've gone on a tangent. But what I'm trying to say is the levels I've told you where my language is where my language is. But like the key, if you want to learn, let's say Spanish or French, having doing the basics, the grammar, knowing the vocab, you have to do that on your own, and then obviously sitting in front of a teacher who's gonna coach you through what you're saying is going to be helpful, and then obviously listening and reading stories and watching maybe movies and TV shows in the target language. I think
Yes.
Narcos was in Spanish, was it?
I can't. I don't think I know of that movie.
No, Narcos is like a TV show. I think where they spoke. We've gone off time. I think they were talking about like how is it Pablo Escobar? I don't know. Listeners, you can correct
Oh,
me.
okay. I know Pablo.
So yeah, so that's the whole essence of it. So
Hmm.
I think to add on and to close off the podcast, I'm going to ask you one final question, and it's, what inspiring words would you like to leave with the listeners who've listened to your episode today, who are looking to improve themselves?
Okay, so one thing is always strive to be the best version of yourself. That is my motto. That's one thing, and also do what you feel is best for you. As I said earlier in the podcast, in the podcast, sorry. You don't want to look back maybe when you're 60, 70, 80, if by the grace of God you get to that age and you see maybe your peers making it in life and you're just there living with regrets, because the thing is regrets it's just going to mess with your mind mentally. At least this is what my dad told me. I know my dad did tell me that he wanted to start his own company, but for whatever reason he couldn't start it. I think he wanted to actually start his own very own car company, his own car company, but for whatever reason he couldn't do it. So he's kind of living with that regret, but at the same time, yeah, he's that's something he told me that don't live with any regrets. That's why even the company which I wish to open, he told me that if you've got the money and you've got the business plan and you've got the right strategy, go for it, because you never know what you could achieve if you just take the risk, because as they say, there no risk, no reward.
Mhm.
So those are kind of two things I would like to leave everybody with, because you can achieve greatness without a doubt. Anyone is capable of greatness if you put in the work without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely, bro, and I agree. And Toby leaves us with some powerful words to close out the podcast. And we've now reached the end of the podcast episode. I'd like to thank you, all of you, for listening into the show and reaching the end. I'd like to thank my guest Toby for featuring and sitting down with me today. Thank you, Toby, for coming on and sharing all your wisdom with us today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Takura, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome, bro. And thanks again for featuring. So to close out, please be sure to check out obviously Toby's channel. It's called 2 Billion TV. It's on YouTube. And be sure to check out my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and so many other digital platforms. Subscribe to it. Please share it. And also, if you have some spare cents left over, please donate to the show. I'd love to, continue making the podcast, and I'll continue doing it. But if you're generous enough to leave a kind donation via the link in the description, I'll be truly grateful for that. The outro music we'll sign out with is entitled "Off the Record," and it is performed by Justin Vinyls featuring Zeke. So thank you all for listening. Until next time, be well and take care.
On the rise, I see it's getting steep. Knees are weak, I've been playing for keeps. Now I'm doing what it takes to survive. I got my eye on the prize, nigga, that's tunnel vision. A man on a mission, and I won't stop until it's complete. The greatest comeback in the game, did it all in a week. And I be talking in my sleep, cause I plotted my dreams, nigga. Then wake up and get it, cause I know talking is cheap. Just like that bitch who played me, now the boy unavailable. Flip the script, yeah, I've been changing the narrative. So between me and you, now there ain't no comparison. So this is a message to y'all who think I ain't serious. Cause the heart attack the only time I'm skipping the beat. Yeah, we coming up from nothing, but we sowing the seeds. Started jogging when I knew that I secured the lead. The ball's so sick, the mic sneeze, caught a disease. I'm off the leash.
If life is a game, then tell me how are we keeping score? In my bag, a couple kilos more. What do you take me for? You think this is a joke? We are in different strokes, but this is not cinema. Catch a sound through the media, causing a mass hysteria, breaking through every barrier. The conversation's gotten heavier. With my hard drive packed, it's time to bury him. It's been a while since Zeke and I had teamed up. How did we let time pass without a feature? Let me assist you, I'm pulling up in an instant, just to show the world we've covered distance. Matter of fact, rather than treat the duel like a moment, I still see no opponent from all these words I've been judging. They tell me that it's a potent, I'm on it, and there's no stopping the dream. I'm mindful of immaculate schemes, I'm at ease. With a goal to stack up some cheese and leave a crease. I keep the whole flow like a breeze, that's no fleece. Cause I'm already 100 degrees, no worries. Here's another project released on all streams.
Music by Justin Vinyls and Zeke.